Hey there, welcome back. I'm Flat Rate Mechanic, and today we're diving into something a bit different. Ever wondered what really happens inside a car fuse when it blows? You pop the hood, see that a fuse is bad, swap it out, but what's actually going on inside that little plastic box? Well, get ready, because we're going to explore exactly how an automotive fuse does its job and sacrifices itself to protect your vehicle's electrical system. So, what happens when a fuse blows? Here's the deal. When I set up to blow a fuse and catch it up close, I had to try a couple of times to get a good shot because it happens super fast. That metal strip inside, it heats up so quickly that it melts and breaks the circuit. In essence, when too much current flows through that little metal strip, it literally vaporizes. The design of a fuse is pretty clever. It's meant to be the weakest link in your electrical circuit. That's the whole point. When something goes wrong, like a short in your wiring or a component drawing too much power, this little guy takes one for the team. It blows to save your more expensive components from getting fried. Now here's a pro tip. That metal strip is engineered to melt at a specific amperage. This is why you should never replace a fuse with a higher amp rating. Doing that, you're taking away your circuit's protection. When we blow these fuses, we're capturing that critical moment where the metal element can't handle the load anymore. You'll see it break apart, sometimes with a little spark. And after a fuse blows, you might notice some black soot or discoloration in the fuse housing, which is just from that metal vaporizing. But not all fuses are created equal. You'll find different types depending on what circuit they're protecting and how much current they need to handle. The most common ones are blade fuses, those colorful rectangular pieces in your fuse box. They come in three main sizes: mini, standard, and maxi. Mini fuses are for lower amp circuits, usually around 5 to 30 amps. Standard blade fuses are the ones you see most often, usually rated around 10 amps at 80 volts DC. And then you've got maxi fuses for heavy-duty circuits, like your alternator or electric cooling fans, capable of handling up to 80 amps. Now, if you're dealing with something like commercial vehicles or heavy equipment, you might come across high-speed fuses that can handle a whopping 700 amps. Not your typical car fuses, but it gives you an idea of the range out there. So, you've got something electrical that's not working. Maybe your radio's dead, or your power windows won't budge. First thing to do? Check the fuses. What are you looking for? Well, the dead giveaway is that metal strip inside. A good fuse will have that strip intact. On a blown fuse, you'll see it's broken. Sometimes it's obvious with a gap right in the middle, or the plastic might be all sooty or blackened. Here's another pro tip. Hold the fuse up to a light. A good fuse will show that metal element clearly connected. A blown one, there'll be a gap or it'll look corroded. If you're still not sure, grab a multimeter and set it to continuity mode. Touch the probes to each end of the fuse. A good fuse will beep and show continuity. A blown fuse, nothing. No beep, no continuity. But wait, before you start pulling fuses, make sure to disconnect your battery. I know it seems like overkill for just checking a fuse, but it's better to avoid any accidental shorts or sparks near the battery. Alright, so you found the blown fuse. Now what? Replacing it is pretty straightforward, but there's a right way to do it. First, replace it with the exact same amperage fuse. Blade fuses are color-coded, so a 10 amp fuse is red, a 20 amp is yellow, and so forth. Always check your owner's manual or the fuse box diagram to confirm what amp rating that circuit needs. One big mistake? Never replace a fuse with a higher amp rating, thinking it'll solve your problem. All you're doing is removing the protection from that circuit. If something's drawing too much current, you need to fix that issue, not just let more current flow through. Use a fuse puller or needle nose pliers to remove the old fuse. Most fuse boxes even come with a little fuse puller tool clipped right inside. After you pop in the new fuse, make sure it's seated properly. Reconnect your battery, test whatever wasn't working, and if it works, awesome. But if that fuse blows again immediately, you've got a bigger problem on your hands. Now let's talk about why fuses keep blowing. It can be super frustrating. You replace the fuse and boom, it blows again right away. Or maybe it lasts a day or two. What's going on? Here's the thing. The fuse isn't your problem. It's just doing its job. Something in that circuit is drawing too much current. You've got three main culprits: a short circuit, an overloaded circuit, or a failing component. A short circuit happens when electricity finds a way to ground that it shouldn't, like damaged insulation on a wire. These usually blow fuses immediately. An overloaded circuit is when you're asking more of that circuit than it can handle. This might take some time to blow the fuse, but it will happen. Failing components can also be tricky. A motor on the way out might draw more current, or a corroded connection creates resistance. If you're not comfortable tracing electrical problems, it's best to take it to a professional. And don't forget to check your fuse holder terminals. Sometimes the problem isn't even the circuit. It could be corrosion or loose terminals causing issues. So, what are the most common signs that an automotive fuse has blown? Usually, you'll notice that whatever electrical component it protects stops working completely. When you pull the fuse, look for that broken or melted metal strip, and definitely test it if you're unsure. Before we wrap up, remember to always disconnect the battery before you start working with fuses. Wear safety glasses. Trust me, you don't want any surprises. And never ever bypass a fuse with wire or foil. That's just asking for trouble. So to sum it up today, we learned how automotive fuses work, how to spot a blown fuse, and what to do if you keep experiencing blown fuses. Pretty useful stuff, right? Next time your car's electrical system lets you down, you'll know exactly what to check. Have you ever had a fuse blow at the worst possible moment? Let me know. Thanks for listening, and I'll catch you in the next one.